Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Overtime, presented by TV2 Sports. I'm your host, Timmy Carlile, joined by Maddox Miller and Matt Carlile. Let's hop right into some NBA discussion.
Yes, let's. The Cleveland Cavaliers, coming out of the second half of the season, there was talk of them being like, they're really hitting on all cylinders, but they got the All-Star break coming up, and that could hurt them. And so far it has. They've lost 3 of their first 5 to start. And to me, fellas, in their last game especially, the rebounding is still an issue. They got out-rebounded by Chicago in a double overtime game, 74-39. And this was an issue last year in that first-round series against the Knicks that we were talking about. How do you have 2 7-footers on the roster, and in the starting 5, mind you, and still get out-rebounded? This shouldn't happen, like we mentioned before, and it's still a cause for concern, even though that was something that was almost a whole calendar year ago.
Without a doubt. I mean, last week on Overtime, I was pressing the panic button for the Cavs, and they didn't do all that well last week. There were signs of improvement. They got a win in there since we've last talked, but I'm 100% with you on certain points that you said there, Matt.
Yeah.
Definitely got to get our boards up. Our bigs got to play better. Jared Allen falling DeMar in the end there really hurt us, but I love Jared Allen. I'm going to let it go. Panic button still being pressed. Maddox, what are your thoughts?
I mean, Andre Drummond grabbing 25 rebounds is insane. The guy is well past his prime days.
Oh, it hurt.
Yeah, he's still
it hurt.
Yeah, he's still going out there grabbing 25 rebounds. Also, fouling DeMar DeRozan for a 3-point foul. The guy's not a 3-point shooter, so why is he getting a 3-point foul to shoot 3 free throws to tie the game and send it into extra time? The other major problem, like you said, they did pick up a win, but the Cavs stole that win. A Max Strus half-court 3-point shot against the Dallas Mavericks is not a legitimate way to win basketball games. You cannot consistently say, oh, this team is going to keep winning basketball games because Max Strus hit a prayer against the Dallas Mavericks. The main thing I want to look at, the rebounding is a major problem, and very quickly, when Donovan Mitchell is off, the entire team is off.
Yeah.
He shot 5 for 13, scored 19 points, and it shows where if he's not being productive, for some reason the entire team just completely collapses in on itself.
And I feel as though that the offense is still there, especially when Donovan's going, but it seems as though that this has been a team where it's just you can't figure out why the problems that are happening last season are still happening this season. And I was going to say, this right here, this should have been a playoff series or a playoff season, I should say, where they have gone, maybe steal that one from the Knicks, and maybe even given that second round a chance, at least a fighting chance. I believe they played Miami, or they would have played Miami, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And that would have been at home. So it's now just a matter of like,
Kevin Love at home in the playoffs.
You need to fix this rebounding problem in any which way. It doesn't mean firing somebody. Doesn't mean just like making an extra
We've tried the big approach in the
practice.
past. You got to remember, we've tried that big 7-footer look, so we're going with a different lineup look right now. It's ironing itself out. I think we need bigger play from the bigs, so like better play from the bigs rather. But we've tried that big look in the past. We tried that look of 4 7-footers, and it didn't work out. So now we're going with smaller ball and moving it around a bit more, and I see upsides there.
Yeah, and it's just more the fact that those defensive executions on that side of the floor will lead to offensive executions on the other side of the floor. That's how you win basketball games. And now it's weird because, like, obviously, when Donovan Mitchell, like we said, when he's on, and the whole rest of the offense is on. But now you're not just getting on defense. And we saw that in the Bulls game the other night. And who were the other two? And who was that other win? Against the Wizards in D.C., who's the worst team. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they gave the Lakers a lot of trouble, but the Wizards are still the Wizards.
Yeah.
I think the other problem is the Cavs at this point in the season sit at the 2nd seed and are looking maybe a little bit too much towards the future, but it is fair to look towards the postseason. When you look at playoff matchups, if this rebounding problem continues, if you match up against Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, if the Cavs can get that far, you're playing Kristaps Porzingis in
Who is this? Who is Tingus Pingus?
as a postman. If you play the Knicks again, you might have to deal with Mitchell Robinson. Because
We got the Knicks next week, folks, and we're going to be ready, okay? And when I tell you the Cavs are going to be ready when it comes to the playoffs this year, we're going to win a playoff series. I see it. But I also see the points you guys were talking about. Listen, we are 13-17 when we play teams that have an above 500 record, and that was as of the 27th, so we've had a game or two in there since. But the Cavs don't play their best basketball when they're playing winning teams. And they've got time to figure it out, but it's going to be a real test come the postseason.
And I feel like as though if they don't fix the rebounding thing, same thing's going to happen. It's going to be deja vu, first-round bounce for Cleveland. So it does, and it wouldn't even matter who they play. So it's just a matter of just trying to figure that out, because last year the whole narrative was, oh yeah, they're too young, they'll be back, no problem. Now you're like, will they advance? That's going to be the real. It's not a matter of just going in.
Crazy discussions to have
but
about a
it's just a matter of
two-seed
time.
in the conference.
Yes,
right
and that's the part that's unbelievable. They're the 2 seed because of this really hot stretch they had, winning like what 17 out of the last 20 before the All-Star break.
Point.
It was a crazy win streak. I think you mentioned the record against winning teams. Luckily for Cleveland, the bottom of the East is weak.
Yes.
The bottom of the East, you have teams in the play-in that are below 500. The Bulls being one of those teams that are like trying to fight for a postseason spot. So, luckily for Cleveland, they're not in the Western Conference where the gap between the 1 seed and the 7 seed is closer than the gap between the 1 seed and the 2 seed for the Eastern Conference.
And I hear what you're saying, and it's very valid. It's very valid. But here's my thing, right? Last year, you didn't think there was a gap between the Cavs and the Knicks? I thought that would have been Cavs in 5. Really. I thought, when I looked at that matchup, there was such a huge gap of talent. I thought we're just going to
We got the
go
Knicks
out.
on our block this next week.
Okay.
We play them on Sunday, and they come to Cleveland. I want to talk
Cleveland's
about our
gotta
next
figure it
4
out.
games that we got before next Friday on overtime. So we have the Detroit Pistons tonight at 7. We have the Knicks on Sunday, the Celtics on Tuesday, and then we travel to Atlanta to play the Hawks on Wednesday. That's a tough schedule of games, boys.
It is. And I feel as though that came at the wrong time, especially with the fact that the Cavaliers have lost 3 of the first 5. So now you really got to buckle down and just figure out a way to try and just go out and beat the good teams, because that is going to change your narrative. Okay, they can beat a Boston, they can beat a New York, they can beat an Atlanta. Now you're beating teams that have really high expectations later in the year. That's the big question is this slump after the All-Star break, will the All-Star break really hit the Cavs where it hurt like we thought it would? That's the big question.
I actually think the schedule is quite easy. I think this
Interesting.
4-game stretch is, so the Pistons are terrible. The Knicks are banged up. The Celtics are your one tough opponent, and the Hawks are okay. So if they can pull 3 wins out of this stretch, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers will be just fine.
But don't you think if they get bounced by Boston on Tuesday, do you think that's going to bleed over into the schedule? Because
Very
that's
well
what it's
could.
looking like
Very
so
well could.
far in this first start
So
of the
that's a
second
good
half.
point. Let's talk about the rest of the NBA now.
Yeah. Look, there are 4 teams that really jump off the page. Timmy, we were talking about this theory before the show. I want you to take it because you summed it up really well.
So there is this theory in the NBA right now, and it's if you get your 40th win before you have your 20th loss, that is the real caliber benchmark for a championship team. I was telling my whole family about it as we were watching that Bulls game because the Cavs were sitting at 19 losses, and that was a big one. We were only a few wins away from 40, and that's like they're playing at that level where they can be. But there's a few things that we got to improve on to be at that championship level, getting your 40th win before your 20th loss.
And the individual that came up with that theory,
you.
none other than Phil Jackson.
Jackson.
So there are 4 teams that are in this little bubble of hitting the 40-win mark before the 20-loss mark. The Boston Celtics, the Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. 3 Western Conference teams, 1 Eastern Conference team. And from the looks of it, fellas, I don't see Boston really letting up in the postseason. I don't see them having a collapse because I feel as though they are really an all-around group. And they've made the finals before. They've gotten to that stage. I feel like the biggest question for Boston is, are they going to get the job done in June, in the finals? Are they going to bring banner number 18 home?
That honestly is, they have fully gone all-in push. Trading for Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday. It's full-on. The standard is no longer making Eastern Conference Finals, making the finals when they lost to Golden State. The expectation this year is we're the Boston Celtics. We're going to go all the way, and
Yep.
we're going to kick the teeth out of everyone in the Eastern Conference, and then match up against whoever makes it out of the West. Because the West is a bloodbath. The West is straight up.
Definitely is.
Like, there's almost too many good teams in the Western Conference.
Yeah. You have two great teams in Minnesota and OKC, but the thing with me that jumps off the page, those two squads, I think they're just too young.
I was going to say
to
there's a
make
lot of youth, at least out
that
in Oklahoma
push.
City.
Now, can I see a second round appearance? Oh, absolutely, with both of them, no doubt. A Western Conference Finals appearance, maybe more the Thunder than the Timberwolves, if I'm being honest with you. But do I really see a team like Minnesota, like OKC, making the finals against a team like the Denver Nuggets, who are literally the reigning NBA champions? No, I don't. I just feel as though that Denver has been in that stage before. And now, I'm not saying that it can't happen, because it did last year with this Denver team. Western Conference Finals against the LeBron and the Lakers. Swept them 4-0. They had to play Miami. They took care of them, I believe, in either 5 or 6. It can happen. I just don't see it happening with the opponent that's in question in the Denver Nuggets. And probably in another perennial MVP year for Nikola Jokic.
I think the youth is a major concern, because the regular season youthful teams can be really exciting. We saw it with the Grizzlies when Ja Morant was healthy like 2 years ago and last year. Mm-hmm. When young teams are in the regular season, they can perform really well. But I mean, the postseason's a whole different monster. The experience can really catch up to you, or lack thereof. I do think the Timberwolves have a little more experience than the Thunder, and I think that could help them in a major way.
They do. It's just that Minnesota hasn't really gotten playoff experience overall.
Minnesota!
Yeah, it's just the fact that they have all these expectations, but I'm like, are they really going to live up to it once that moment comes? We remember 2 years ago the celebration of just winning a play-in spot. That was a big deal for Minnesota. That was essentially their finals.
Yeah.
And they lost in the first round.
The Patrick Beverly video is iconic at this point.
Yeah, so now it's just a matter of, okay, can they elevate that? And to be honest, fellas, I don't really see that happening with what's going on up north with those guys.
Yeah, very valid points. I mean, I would agree totally. The NBA right now is crazy out in that Western Conference. The teams are stacked over there. There was a game last year against the Cavs where I knew the Oklahoma City Thunder was going to be good, and it was around January, and I was like, okay, this team is young, but they know how to ball. Mm-hmm. They came back and beat us, and then ever since then, this Oklahoma City team has been on the rise. I feel their ceiling is just about where the Cavs are right now.
Oh, yeah.
Win a playoff series. You could be dangerous in that second round, but you got to get there first.
I mean, heck, I live with the Thunder.
Gotta get
it's
there
our
first.
sports executive producer, Ryan Shanko. I've watched this team, and it really, you can tell that, yeah, they're young, but they can ball. Exactly what you said. But it's just a matter of, okay, when the lights are bright and when you got the atmosphere of especially the road game in the postseason, are you willing to buckle down and win the finals? That's all.
Word. Boys, I think now we are going to transition over to NBA discussion that is wrapped up. That was great. We are going to go out and talk about the NFL and talk the Combine when we come back here on Overtime. All right, we are back. We talked all about the happenings on the court around the NBA, and now we're going to jump our focus to the NFL Combine. What do you guys got down for the Combine here as we're getting started?
Go ahead, Maddox. I'm curious.
Yeah, I would absolutely like to start with this one. Mm-hmm. Even though the Combine has happened and this news came out prior to the Combine, I think the dropout problem of the top prospects is insane. I do not, maybe I'm blanking on my memory, but I do not remember a draft class where so many top 15, top 10 picks are just saying, nope, I'm not going to run, not going to throw, not going to do this, do that, not going to test, I'm just going to interview. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison have all dropped out. Caleb Williams and Drake May are pretty much consensus number 1 and number 2 in the draft class. Mm-hmm. Harrison is
Maserati Marv.
Yeah, Maserati Marv is 3, 4, depending on who's drafting at that position. And then Malik Neighbors is considered a top 3 wide receiver prospect in this class with other guys competing for that spot. So I think the fact that all these guys are dropping out it feels a little defensive and a little bit like these prospects don't want to potentially be seen as they don't want to underperform and then have their stock drop because their stock is already so high. So I get the why they're doing it, but it is an interesting kind of thing to look at because it almost feels like they're just not caring as much, but maybe that I'm just completely off on that and there's a whole nother reason why these guys aren't attending the combine. But I mean, Caleb Williams, the guy's not even submitting his medical reports to the other teams, which is a major red flag.
I honestly, I think Caleb Williams needs quite a few things. I think he needs a haircut. I think he needs an agent. And I think he needs an ego check. I think he is not worth the messy money. He wanted ownership of the team that he gets drafted by at one point. I mean, that's a great point about not sending out his records to every team. Like, there are so many red flags there. The biggest one for me was his performance after winning the Heisman Trophy. He must have got into the Heisman house with all those people and was like, I'm chilling. I've got one. I'm in the Heisman house. What do I got to keep working for?
Yeah.
I really don't know why this has become a theme, especially this year now with like those players we mentioned.
It almost feels like the NFL Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it's wild. But let's talk about the performers then, because Dallas Turner out of Alabama really. Yes. You want to talk about guys that are like, oh yeah, they're not afraid of their stock going down. Dallas Turner had his stock go up.
Absolutely.
4.4640. That's going to get you from a place, now I don't really know where he was projected to go, but he's going to go higher than where he was projected to go than yesterday or 2 days ago.
These kids nowadays are just built different. When it comes to speed and skill and strength, it's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and another couple more players that jump off the page to me, Chop Robinson, Latu, Byron Murphy of Texas, Jaden Verse as well. These linebackers and edge, they really showed out yesterday in Indy. Really did.
My thought is a couple of these kids did not go there to play school. And it's very clear. I mean, you've got Texas Tech's Tyler Owens asking, like, he doesn't think space is real. And then you had another player from Illinois, the Fighting Illini's tight end, Tip Riemann. He doesn't believe in birds. He said, have you ever seen baby pigeons? Like, these kids, they're making highlights of themselves, and it's not necessarily their performance.
Yeah.
So, like, it's mind-boggling, some of the performances. I did want to shout out those players.
Yeah, it is a weird class in terms of participation, the headlines, that type of thing. But what names, gentlemen, are you looking forward to? Because for me, I feel like the big story out of this is obviously the quarterbacks.
Yes.
It's loaded for the first time in arguably a while, I'd say in 10 years. Because remember that 2014 draft class who had some names coming in. But J.J. McCarthy I'm really interested to see because obviously national championship winning quarterback. Can he bring that type of play to the combine? Can he bring a championship
Do you think
level
he's going to be looked at by the
He's not
Chargers
running-
to go to
he's not running at the
Harbaugh's
combine.
team?
Fun fact, he's not running at the combine.
Really?
Yeah, because he has hamstring tightness. So
Oh,
he's
okay.
just going to throw.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
another instance of a player not being able to perform fully at the combine.
Yeah, because I don't really see a lot of people talking about J.J. McCarthy turning out to be a good NFL quarterback. So I'm interested to see
I think he's going to Harbaugh.
how he's going
No,
to
they've heard.
adjust
I know they do,
with
but
the combine.
Another player I'm interested with.
you heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
little Bolts action for
Yeah, a little
for
Chargers.
JJ.
I feel it. I can feel it. He's
Staying
a
in the
system
blue
guy.
and yellow? All right,
System
nice.
guy. I can feel it.
Go ahead.
I'm very curious. I may be stealing one of your guys. Quarterback as well. Also played in the national championship. Michael Penix.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
first thought.
Yeah, he's coming off of a lot. He's very banged up after that season. A lot of injuries, his legs and all, just everything was falling apart by that national championship game. So I'm very curious to see how healthy he looks. And also, he's one of the older quarterbacks in the class. All things considered, these guys are still very young for prospects. But I'm very curious to see how well he performs, how well he throws, because he's kind of looked at as an example, maybe along with Bo Nix, of a guy who could perform really well in college, but just may not cut out for the NFL. But I think he is very NFL material as a quarterback.
And, there's a narrative out there that Heisman-winning quarterbacks don't really transition to the NFL. Tim Tebow, Sam Bradford, Johnny Manziel, those are names that just come off to me. Jaden Daniels, I'm also interested to see how he will do as well.
I'm liking to see Steel Chambers coming out of Ohio State, but that's a topic for another day, boys. We are now going to head on to our favorite March Madness moments when we come back here. So we'll be right back. And we are back. Now it is time to talk about some March Madness moments, guys. What are your favorite all-time March Madness moments?
Well, for me, I think this is a little bit of a bias here, but Furman beating Virginia last year because of the fact that I have actually a friend from high school who is a student manager on that Furman squad, and I was calling, and it was public address announcing a lacrosse game here at Kent State while that was going on. I was watching it live, and just the sheer shock from everyone that was working on that box was crazy. It was that is something that really sticks with me. That's what the madness is all about.
I love it. Maddox, what you got?
I also a little bit of bias, but who cares? The Jordan Poole 2018 game winner against Houston. It was round 2. Jordan Poole was a freshman. Houston had just hit 2 free throws to pretty much wrap up the game, and Jordan Poole basically turned and did like a this with his legs and fell down as the ball went in, and then he starts sprinting around the court. I almost ran out of my house because it was. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
They went to the 2018 also had the Loyola Chicago Cinderella run, so 2018 March Madness has a very special place in my heart.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Just for moments like those.
Beautiful. Can you grab my T-shirts for me?
Oh yeah.
So I've got a couple moments here. Like if we're going March moments, my favorite March moment's got to be last year when Kent State punched their ticket, winning the MAC championship, going to the NCAA tournament. I mean, that was incredible. Because, you know, March Madness moments happen in April. Like, it's March Madness, but it's the middle of March in April by the time this thing gets started. So my favorite NCAA tournament moment would be the 2016 buzzer beater championship, Villanova over UNC. Classic, all-time, 2016, great year for sports. But my March moments last season when Kent State won that MAC tournament. Gone to 3 MAC tournaments in a row before I was even a Kent State student. I was going with my best friend, Noah McGar, lives right across the street, and we were at those games. Nice. So it was special last year. First year as a Kent State student, and we win the tournament. I told my family it was because I was here.
And going back to the tournament itself, you were talking about 2018. I mean, how about the 16 seeds, right? UMBC beating Virginia. You got Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue last year in Columbus. You can't rule a team out. Never rule a team out in this tournament.
No, absolutely not. And Florida Gulf Coast.
Oh, Dunk City.
Dunk City.
My grandmother lived in Naples at that time, which is around where that university is, and you can just kind of feel the excitement of it. It was awesome.
Oh, so cool. All right, boys. Now we're going to transition on to the NFL grid. Are you guys ready for this one?
Yes, I am.
Producer Gabe cooked up another one for us. Looks like we got Patriots, San Francisco 49ers, and the Washington football team, now known as the Washington Commanders with that logo, Pittsburgh Steelers, Detroit Lions, and Super Bowl champ.
All right, so obviously kind of going top corner, just kind of going across. Patriots and Steelers, jumping off the page to me, off the top of the head, is Juju. Unless anybody else can name another one.
Yeah, no, Juju Smith-Schuster sounds great. Oh, we got some sound effects there.
Okay. Not going to lie, I thought that was a fire alarm. Got your boy jumping out of his seat a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's speed run. Super Bowl champ Patriots. I'm going Kent State's own Julian Edelman.
Yes.
Right there.
That's a great one. I can get Lions Patriots, Trey Flowers.
Beautiful.
Nice.
49ers Steelers. Oh.
I can get Lions Commanders as well. Adrian Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
That's a good one. Washington Commanders Super Bowl champion. There's not that many. I think they've won 4, but they were in the 80s.
Who was the quarterback for their Super Bowl
dust
team?
Off some cobwebs. Joe Theismann.
That's what I was thinking.
I believe so.
No, it was like D. Williams or something.
Doug Williams.
Doug Williams.
That's one of them. And for the 49ers, I want to get rare a little bit here. We can go.
Sorry, Joe Montana.
I'm going to go like Ronnie Lott, and I was like, I think that's the deepest I can go.
Where's my ding? Thank you.
Where's my ding is crazy. All right, so 49ers Steelers, I think we're stuck on.
So we have 49ers Steelers, Commanders Steelers, Lions 49ers.
Okay.
Yeah, those
Lions
3 blocks.
Lions 49ers.
Man,
Frank Gore was never a Lion. He played for every team.
Yeah, it felt like it at least. 49ers and Steelers, I feel like, I almost want to say Trent Williams, but that's like 49ers Commanders, so that kind of tripped me up.
2 iconic franchises, and we can't think of one guy we can't think of one guy
that
that's
hasn't
played
played
for both of them.
For both of them, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
not
because
brown and orange, you don't
there's
matter
so
to
many
me,
49ers Commanders because you could do Alex Smith for the Niners and Commanders as well, but that's not part of the grid.
Yeah, it's tough because you can go Pittsburgh. You can go someone on the defense. Okay.
Well, yeah, we know.
We got touched off. Sorry. And they're in the wound here.
Yeah.
3 X's.
Good Lord.
That's not bad, though. That's better than last week. We did improve. We went over 24 last week.
Okay, okay.
So.
Yeah.
We get it. We get it. We were wrong. Lions.
Yeah. That was tough.
We improved. I'm happy we
There
improved.
you
We
go.
did not get skunked this week.
Yeah.
Well,
boy.
thank you so much for joining us on another week of Overtime. I think that's going to do it. From Tim Carlile, Maddox Miller, and Matt Carlile, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to check out TV2 Sports for all of your